This documentary focuses on the growing insecurity in Nigeria's southeast and its impact on the civic space. The film reveals how attacks on freedom of expression, press freedom, and freedoms of association and peaceful assembly have constricted civic space, using vivid case studies to highlight the harsh realities faced by journalists, human rights defenders, and other civic actors. This documentary is produced by the Rule of Law and Accountability Center, RULAAC, with support from Funds for Global Human Rights through the Action Group on Free Civic Space. In southeast Nigeria, a region rich in culture and history, the gongs of freedom are being silenced. As insecurity grows, the civic space constricts, with attacks on freedom of expression, press freedom, and the rights of association and peaceful assembly.
The insecurity in Nigeria is a problem to everybody. And this insecurity comes from a general situation of failure of governance. The corruption in government, the corruption among the political elite, the corruption within intelligentsia, the corruption in business, corruption everywhere. So all these things came together and produced dysfunctional society and frustrations among the youths. So it's not a matter of south-south or southeast or southwest or northwest or northeast or north central. It's a question that governments have neglected their peoples, neglected the youths, neglected the boys and the girls. Nobody is planning for them. Therefore, some people have taken up arms to help themselves, thinking they are doing something good. They started arming themselves. So there are local specifics, such as in the southeast, south, north, central, and so on, and west, and so on. There are local specifics, but all these local specifics are tied to a general principle of failure in governance and corruption among the ruling elite.
On a lighter mode, it was just last week that someone stated that capital of Imo State is terrorism. You know, this is quite funny when you hear such thing. So security issue in Imo State is something that calls for help.
My arrest and prison detention for 54 days. Vacation well spent.
Nonso Nkwa, a journalist in Owerri, was abducted by armed men who later revealed themselves to be police officers. His crime? Allegedly defaming the governor of Imo State.
I was ambushed at exactly opposite teacher's house, Port Harcourt Road, Owerri, by Ebubago militants and Tiger-based officers, led by one Chidebere Wosu, who ordered that I should be thrown inside the boot of the Lexus car they ambushed me with. There was nothing different from kidnappers and those who arrested me. Nothing to distinguish them as security agents. However, I was taken to the state CID, locked up at the intelligence department without telling me why I was arrested. I was told I would see the CP for an interview, but I never saw the CP till I was hurriedly bundled to the Magistrate Court 1 on Wednesday, October 23rd, where I was remanded in prison custody, even when the magistrate knew she has no jurisdiction over treason charges brought against me. I was taking notes.
Some of these criminal organizations have also been unleashing attacks on communities, and this has led to heightened fear among the citizens and also disrupted community peace. So in terms of safety and security, communities are not safe, both from the activities of non-state actors and from the exercise of law enforcement agencies, but also in terms of human rights violations. People are arbitrarily arrested. It seems that security agencies now hide under the pretense of cracking down on so-called members of the proscribed IPOB to crack down on young people. A lot of young people have been arrested. We have intervened in some cases where people who were arrested allegedly for being members of the IPOB were found not to have had any connection with the organization. So this is what is happening. So we think that security agencies are even exploiting the fight against insecurity to violate human rights. And the majority of the victims are basically young people. A lot of them have been killed, a lot of them have been tortured, a lot of them have disappeared as we speak. Like I said, freedom of expression has been completely circumscribed. People can no longer speak up freely for fear of repercussions. People can no longer assemble. Even the media, like I said earlier, can't even report things related to insecurity because government targets them.
You think if you keep everybody here, that the whole world will not be yours. I am in my house. Come and arrest me also. Come and kill me. Come and kill my children. You have to kill all of us. My husband is sick. You did not allow him to go with his medication. You came to my house in Abuja and carried him and making it look like he was kidnapped. You have to kill all of us. You have to kill me and kill him so that the whole world will be yours finally.
Dr. Fabian Ihekweme, a former Imo State Commissioner, was arrested in Abuja by police operatives from Owerri, Imo State. He was allegedly manhandled and taken to Owerri, where he's been detained indefinitely. His crime? Expressing his views on government accountability and transparency. Dr. Ihekweme had criticized Governor Hope Uzodima's administration, accusing them of corruption and mismanagement. The arrest has sparked outrage, with many calling for Dr. Ihekweme's release and an end to the harassment of government critics. The case highlights concerns about freedom of speech and the rule of law in Nigeria.
My governor, Dr. Fabian Ihekweeme, has never done anything bad. He has never accused you wrongly. Rather, he has been telling you to wake up. He has been telling you to pay civil servants, pay pensioners, pay workers, employ workers, construct roads, fight insecurity, make Imo State the my governor. Instead of you arresting Dr. Fabian Ihekweeme, why not arrest the unpaid salaries, unpaid pension allowances, unpaid civil servants, and the unemployment? Why not arrest all these things? I am saying this without missing words, my able governor. You got it all wrong. This is not the best way to go. So you are proving to Dr. Fabian Ihekweeme that yes, your inability to perform is what you are suffering from.
In Imo State, the pensioners demanding their unpaid pensions faced brutal attacks by government-sponsored thugs. The elderly seeking justice were met with violence.
How many months are you being owed?
My own is about 24 months. 24 months. Since 2018. I have not been given anything. 2 years, 24 months.
How many months are you being owed?
Since last October, I retired. Nothing been paid. But I did your marriage.
Civil society organizations in Nigeria, including the media, have been silenced because government seems to, there's a general atmosphere of, repression, a tendency by government to, repress the civic environment when people protest or express their opinions about the way government is responding to insecurity. Government seems to crack down on both the media. In fact, the media, a lot of things happening in the Southeast are no longer being reported by local media because they are afraid of repercussions. Civil society organizations can no longer assemble to freely express themselves, express their opinions about what is going on. So it is the fear of the repercussion from government that has made it difficult for both the media and civil society organizations to freely express themselves, to generally assemble. There have been instances when even media people covering protests by people protesting against one government action or the other have come under attack. civil society organizations on their own parts are not able to speak out when violations happen because they too are afraid that government may come after them using security agencies. So it is the fear of what government response that has made it difficult, has instilled fear in civic actors in the Southeast, including the media and the civil society.
Journalist Precious Nwadike was beaten by the governor's brother for his critical reporting on the administration. The assault left him fearing for his life.
It's everywhere now. It's in all the conventional media platforms, channels everywhere. You can see how tired I am. These people subject me to 17th century humiliation and treatments. What was my offense? Look at my ribs. These people just scattered me and destroyed my ribs. Look at me. What did I do now?
Chidiebube Okeoma, a correspondent for Punch newspaper, was covering a protest by unpaid women sweepers when he was assaulted by policemen and thugs.
I was carrying my responsibility. I saw women who were protesting, and that was newsworthy for me. I went there and I was covering the proceeding. As I was covering the proceeding, interviewing women, they were telling me that they were being owed by the state government 6 months arrears of salaries, 15,000 each times 6, which is 90,000. 90,000 each times over 750 of them. I was just interviewing them, to do my report, the normal report as a journalist, nothing more. All of a sudden, gun wielding policemen in operational vehicles stormed the scene with thugs from OCDA. I said thugs from OCDA.
OCDA?
Stormed the scene. I started bullying me, started beating me, started harassing me, started beating me. They asked me who I was, and I was confident to introduce myself to them. They were asking me who gave me permission to cover the proceeding. I told them the permission I need to cover the proceeding is already enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as a qualified journalist who work without being immodest, who works for the most popular and highly read newspaper in Africa, the Punch newspaper. If you know, they confiscated all my gadgets. All of them confiscated all my gadgets, started beating me. The other ones started dragging me on my waist like a common criminal. If you know, they bundled me into their steaming operational vehicle, the one you call Hilos, and took me straight to the governor's office.
So the governor's office?
Yes, now to the governor's office, the one you call Pentagon. Took me there and marched me into the governor's office like a common criminal. You see how they were marching me, treating me as if I'm a criminal. March me straight to the governor's office where I met one Shaba Adamu, who somebody told me is the chief security officer in charge of government, who said, I'll see me, the man even said why were they bringing me to him, that they should have detained me. I said, I took the bold courage and asked, that detain me in what perspective? As a criminal?
The police in Abia State, they are not very human rights friendly and they are not human rights compliant. And they do not take issues concerning people very serious. Most of the time, it is because they are ill-equipped. At times, it's because they are overworked. At times, it's outright corruption.
Michael Okechukwu Ilediagu, the publisher of News Center Enugu, faced intimidation and harassment by the police anti-kidnapping squad for his reporting on state developments.
The background to the closure of NGO activities in Southeast Nigeria, well, I think it's basically traceable to heightening insecurity with the increasing activities of non-state actors and criminal gangs, and frequent clashes between security agencies and these organizations, and which has led to increasing militarization and activities of law enforcement agencies that have, tended to close the civic space, prevented people from freely expressing themselves, from peaceful assembly, and other activities that, fall within the framework of, basic rights, in terms of assembly, expression, and movement. The frequent sit-at-home orders by IPOB and other groups, the violent approach, the basically kinetic approach to addressing insecurity, lack of dialogue and engagement with organizations, all these have combined to ensure that the civic space in the Southeast is closing.
Meet Nnamdi Eme, a brave whistleblower who exposed alleged organ harvesting and human rights atrocities by the Anambra State Police. But instead of protection, he was arrested and charged with trumped-up offenses. Despite being granted bail, Eme remains in prison over 2 years later. The police investigation into his allegations has been shrouded in silence, with no action taken against the accused officers.
IPOBs, we will invite them.
Period. Hey.
That is part of what we can be doing for them. We secure them jobs. Some of IPOBs have not, they have no jobs. Those IPOBs, we all of them, we protect all our shops and we have to pay them. We have to mobilize for that. We have to do that. We must have our own security so that they will stop attacking us in the midnight, in the morning, in the afternoon. They will stop attacking us in emergency. Yes. When they discover that we have our own security, before they will come to take time, they will know that we have our own men there. I'm not saying a single word to be hiding. I don't hide my words. Let my words go viral. I'm part of this thing that people must get their right and get stand in Lagos State.
Based on the complaints we are receiving in our office, a lot of people have resorted to going to shrine, something that our people have stopped doing for a very long time. Now going to shrines or going to juju or doing all kinds of magics have been resurrected because of the failure of the law enforcement agents.
The agitation by IPOB, sometimes peaceful, sometimes not so peaceful, has provided a blanket for all sorts of crimes to go on in the Southeast. And if law enforcement is not able to do as much as they can, there's a tendency to find a scapegoat and to say, oh, it's IPOB, they're the ones responsible. And nobody says they are not responsible for crimes in the Southeast. I mean, clearly, crimes have been committed in the Southeast by people who have connections with IPOB. But you want to isolate those crimes and focus as law enforcement on enforcing the law across the sub-region.
There has been high incidence of crackdown on civic associations by government using, the security agencies, particularly the police. We talked about in Enugu, where the government in Enugu decided that they were no longer going to allow sit-at-home, and then they wanted people to defy sit-at-home orders by IPOB, and the citizens were, would government protect us if we come out in defiance of sit-at-home orders? And then the ban extended to even the media. The governor said that no media organization should report any incident related to sit-at-home. And then a journalist reported an incident that happened where some people were trying to violently enforce sit-at-home. And for reporting that incident, the police were sent after this journalist. He was arrested and taken to the anti-kidnapping unit. It took interventions from organizations based outside the Southeast, particularly organizations that work on media freedom, that mounted pressure on the governor before they could let him be. So this tells you the extent to which government's approach to addressing insecurity and law enforcement approach to arresting people, in the pretext of arresting people they consider to be members of proscribed organizations. There are a lot of instances of arbitrary arrest, unlawful detention, torture, and extrajudicial killing of people that have been arrested, even without evidence that they are actually members of these organizations. So this is what has been going on.
To expand the civic space in Southeast Nigeria, several actions need to be taken by various stakeholders, including the government, civil society, international organizations, and the media.
So what we have done is that we have a dialogue that we do periodically, maybe quarterly. Quarterly, that means in 4 months we review and appraise the level of security situation in the zone, and we get the stakeholders. We call it a civil military dialogue. It's one of the stakeholders dialogue that we hold. And we hold it in partnership with the Action Group on Free Civil Space, where we looked at the issue of security in the zone. And since it's a multi-stakeholders, he brings all the stakeholders from every diverse of life, the political leaders, the security agencies, opinion leaders, agitators, and groups, so that we can discuss and find out a solution to the issue of insecurity in the zone. So that particular intervention has been ongoing for now, and it has become a very formidable platform for an intervention, a platform of engagement, a platform of engaging all relevant stakeholders to look at the issues that are drivers of insecurity and look at how we're going to prefer solution.
Organization, we are currently a member of the Action Group on Free Civil Space, where there's a collaboration among the members to ensure there's a free civil space in our states. So we are not just working with Action Group members, also working with well-meaning CSOs in Imo State. One way or the other, we are contributing to ensure that the lives of the people, women and girls, the young people, the youth, are being preserved by also partnering with security agency. There are so many things we can come together as CSOs in the state to air our voices, either to write on the media or to walk down to the police command to tell them this person or this thing is not, we are not going to tolerate this thing in the state. We are not going to, we are not happy at the activities of the police or how you are handling the cases or how you are arresting innocent men and women or how you are humiliating people.
What we've done is more of educating the citizens, especially the women and young girls, on prompt reporting of cases, how to get across to the law enforcement agencies and precautions they can take, not staying out late, not working alone, especially on lonely routes in the communities and within the state capital. And then to also report to the leaders of the communities when they see traces of what they cannot really define as security issues, but they appear to be security issues. We also talk to the communities, especially the community leaders, to take to dialogue. Instead of taking laws into their hands, they could take to dialogue, discuss their differences, and then get government involved where they cannot agree to resolve their differences at their own level. And we also train the communities on conflict management. What are those basic things that could trigger crisis and maybe communal wars, how to manage them at community level, and when it's not possible to leverage the government agencies that can help in addressing them. And the possible ways of identifying people who could pose risks, security risks in their communities, and report instead of taking laws into their hands. We've also invited the police in particular to educate citizens, especially when we have meetings, community sensitizations and awareness creation, when we have workshops, We invite the police to talk to the citizens on how they can, manage crisis and how to collaborate with the police to address insecurity in the state. And getting government apparatus apart from the police, like the ministries, involved, in handling security issues in the state.
Despite the overwhelming adversity, the people of Southeast Nigeria continue to fight for their rights. The struggle for freedom is far from over, but their resilience shines through. As we tell their stories, we call for urgent reform and support from all stakeholders to protect and expand the civic space. The gongs of freedom must not be silenced.
If you want economic development, you've got to try and pay the price for peace. There's no other way to look at the point. So if we don't, for as long as we don't have peace in the Southeast, our economy is going to suffer. And that also impacts on what non-profit organizations can do. So for instance, if you're an NGO and you're planning an outreach for whatever reason, you cannot do it on Monday, right? And you can say people have options they can do any other day of the week, but the point is that day is lost. You know there are some places you cannot go as of today. There are some places you dare not go. Yeah? That also impacts on what you can do or what you cannot do. So surely, the problem we have in the South is impacts profit, non-profit, individuals, even the government itself is impacted by the crisis we have in the Southeast, even though the government has primary responsibility for ensuring security and welfare.
The narrative that government also pushes out is that every insecurity in the Southeast is about IPOB. Before IPOB, there have been forms of insecurity. But today, government's focus on IPOB has made it to treat everything as IPOB, and that is why they're not getting it. So the more they kill people, the more these people come out. Because at the end of the day, what we are going to have is a generational atrophy. They're going to be killing people without addressing the root cause of this problem. Because it is when you address the root cause that we begin to find solution. But when you don't address the root cause and you think the only way is to use brutal force, you keep killing people and you keep radicalizing them. And so it is some sort of mutual annihilation. Criminal gangs are killing security agencies are killing people, not just those involved in violence, but even people who are caught in the crossfire. So I think that what this requires then is that government needs to change its approach and do some engagement with community leaders, with youth groups, do some dialogue, understand the grievances, and then agree on how to begin to resolve them.
The report by RULAAC is an excellent exercise. I read it several times. The RULAAC did not only make investigation. It's not a theoretical matter. They went down the track for a survey research. They interviewed many people and took note of their problems and recommendations and made recommendations on the basis of the problems. I believe that the RULAAC is a society we can rely upon. And I appeal to governments to make use of this report in order to ensure that there is security, not only in Southeast, but in Nigeria. Because the report is pointing at a common problem: unemployment, failure of state institutions, poverty, disharmony everywhere. That is only a point of departure. But what the recommendations by RULAAC affects everybody in society. And government should view the citizens as allies in development. The military security forces should not see the citizens as enemies. The army is army of the people, and the people are for the army, and the army for the people. There should be no division among them. In fact, if possible, let compulsory military service be established in Nigeria so that the youth will be part of the army, patriotic army, to develop Nigeria. So the recommendations in RULAAC are very good recommendations. And I join others to acknowledge its utility, the development of Nigeria.
Together, we can ensure that the gongs of freedom ring loud and clear once more.